Yes, Europe is a garden. We have built a garden. Everything works. It's the best combination of political freedom, economic prosperity, and social cohesion that the humankind has been able to build. There's three things together. And here Bruges is maybe the good representation of beautiful things, intellectual life, well-being. The rest of the world, and you know very well, Federica, is not exactly a garden. The rest of the world, most of the rest of the world is a jungle. And the jungle could invade the garden. And the gardeners should take care of it.
I am flabbergasted daily at the audacity that people who do not possess melanin have. What you lack in color, you make up for in unmitigated gall.
The caucasity, shamelessness, and stupid pride that these folks have is unmatched. Europe is a garden, the rest of the world is a jungle. The gardeners have to protect the garden so the jungle don't invade the garden. We cannot even get into how condescending that statement is and how much accountability it lacks. Like, how can you stand up there and make such a statement when you guys are the bane of the rest of the world and the reason why they are in the mess they are in today? These are the same people who constantly invade and force their way into the business of the rest of the world that they consider to be a jungle. But here they are talking about how they need to protect themselves from invaders when they are actually the invaders that have been invading other people's spaces for hundreds of years now, causing mayhem, distraction, and destruction, because that's how they get to have their garden and keep their garden, by constantly causing chaos and subduing the rest of the world, and constantly keeping the rest of the world under their thumb. But when you hear them speak, you would think that all they have, they achieved fairly and in a morally upright manner.
Hapana, yote nisipona pasuka Mungu.
Maombi yetu tunataka MONUSCO atuitaki itoke iende, paske hatuone kitu ya MONUSCO nikiweka fama hii nchi. Kuliko tupate matunda tubenefisie ku MONUSCO, kazi ya MONUSCO ni kutuisha shi population. Alors, kama gouvernement haina nguvu, population iko na nguvu ya kurevendike ju MONUSCO itoke iende. Batupatie ruhusa bila polisi kutupiga kwa masasi, bila soda kutupiga kwa masasi, tuko na opportunity na nguvu yoyote. Population kutosha MONUSCO batoke baende, tukue na amani.
Je population ikakamata jukumu ya kwanza piga majiwe, mwisho tukafaulu gari kabakia hapo. Sasa ibakia njoo ba population ilisema bikakuwa moto sana, njoo bakaichoma vile.
No, not 2024. I hope nobody agrees to that. They have to leave right now. Go back to your stupid garden and stop interfering in the rest of the world's business. The rest of the world do not want you in their business. So stop invading and forcing your way in. Stop interfering. So this happened in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Recently, there's been a lot of protests happening here in Africa, from Mali to Burkina Faso to Niger. And I made a video on it. I also talked about the protests that's happening in Haiti. Our people do not want these folks and they are not playing anymore. You know, they're taking to the streets and doing what they need to do to get what they want happening in their countries.
Nos Canadiens, nos Américains, vous êtes des monstres, vous n'avez pas de solution. C'est vous les chaos. C'est vous les crimes de gangstérisation.
On Tuesday afternoon, the UN troops who fight alongside DR Congo's army said they were strategically and tactically withdrawing from Rumangabo. M23 rebels took Rumangabo military barracks, the biggest base close to Goma, following clashes over the weekend and earlier this week. A local journalist told the BBC that angry civilians attacked the convoy around Kanyaruchinya, which is less than 10 kilometers north of the main city in the east, Goma, injuring some UN personnel in the convoy. In a statement, the UN mission known as MONUSCO said its troops shot to disperse the mob and managed to leave the scene, adding that 2 of its engineers from Bangladesh were injured. The UN force, the second largest UN mission globally, has been criticized for failing in its mission to bring about stability in eastern DRC. The game these people play, we are tired of it. Your help, we don't want anymore. The same people who caused the instability would come back and say they want to help bring stability. Make the madness make sense.
And all I can say is, God save Africa from Europeans offering help.
Big shout out to Colonel Assimi Goïta, the president of Mali. How he has kicked the French out since he took power is admirable. Colonel Assimi Goïta, the 36-year-old new Mali military leader, has cancelled 8 out of 11 secret agreements with France. The automatic confiscation of national financial reserves cancelled. The right of preference over any raw or natural resources discovered in the country cancelled. Priority to French interests and companies in public contracts and public tenders cancelled. Exclusive right to provide military equipment and train military officers of the colonies cancelled. The right for France to send troops and intervene militarily in the country to defend its interests cancelled. The obligation to send to France an annual check-up and a report on the status of the reserves cancelled. Renounce all military alliance with other countries, except France's permission, cancelled. The obligation to ally with France in case of world war or crisis, cancelled. I cannot wait for all former colonies to do the exact same thing. When we finally unify, put our heads together and get our ish together, we would see how much of a garden these people would have. When all former French colonies, for example, finally kick the French out and they don't get that $500 billion they get yearly from their former colonies, then I'll see what will become of the French.
The gardeners have to go to the jungle. The Europeans has to be much more engaged with the rest of the world. Otherwise, the rest of the world will invade us.
So they invade the rest of the world, so the rest of the world don't go invading them. Why would anybody want to invade Europe? What is in Europe exactly? But you see, let's put aside the words he used. What he actually said here was Europe has to constantly invade the rest of the world, be in their business at all times, continuously cause the problems there because that's how they get their garden. They have nothing to offer. If they stay out of the business of the rest of the world, they won't have their garden. It's neocolonialism. The same reason why they went out of Europe and colonized the rest of the world is the exact same reason why they are in the rest of the world's business today. They have nothing to offer, and like an African American sister once said on TikTok, they cannot compete because they do not compare. So because they cannot fairly compete, they subdue others to get what they want. Classic colonizer mentality. We seriously need a revolution worldwide because these folks,
Difference between a garden and a jungle. A garden's a nice place where civilized human beings walk around. A jungle is the heart of darkness, where wild animals live. Now, many people in Africa, Asia, Latin America remember very well how in the name of civilization, European colonialism treated them like wild animals, enslaving them, torturing them, and even exhibiting them in human zoos. Therefore, when the highest diplomat of the European Union compares Europe to a garden, but especially the rest of the world to a jungle, the message these people hear is that Europe is still driven by neocolonialism. We cannot let that message pass, and therefore I would ask you to put this topic on the agenda for discussion on Wednesday. Thank you very much.